All right, I'm gonna do a quick little lap and break down the trail we have so far. All right, here's the trailhead. Enters into a pretty tough climb. Building the drop there to the right. There to the left, I have a couple different downhill lines that cut across left to right. And here's this first spot. I have a couple options. So on the right hand side, we have a little rock garden tech section. Oh yeah. And on the other side, it's a nice little skinny. Let's see if we can go 2 for 2. Oh, almost. Oh, slipped on the rock. So tough approach with the rock, and then a tight little exit on the other end with the other rock straight ahead. Ooh. Not today. That corner needs some work. A little too tight. This stretch here needs a little bit of a bench cut. Finally found the right line. So now I need to refine it. And then we have first real big feature, this drop, which leads down into what I call the swamp, where I have a big wooden skinny up and over rock that I've yet to ride. Take a look from the other side. So this way, it's typically going to be the beeline around that feature. And this is the exit of that feature. All right, and then we have my nice big bridge. Still has a little bit of a rock, tricky entrance. I can't do it with the trail building tool wagon on the back yet. This is a little chickadee bridge named after the flock of chickadees that were hovering around us while I was building it. I think next time I narrate one of these, I'm gonna take the e-bike so I'm not just panting the whole time. So this next section hasn't had too much actual work done to it other than breaking a line in. And I'm just now remembering this tree is across both in and out. So I'm gonna have to jump over it twice. So eventually I'm going to run a skinny across onto that log, through where those two trees are, and then it's going to ride along this rock ledge here, and then you'll come into this corner at a lower angle. But either way, this needs a bit of a bench cut and that stump removed. But then you're up at the top of that hill. This whole direction of travel out away from the house is all uphill. A few little downs, but for the most part, it's all uphill. And we're coming to the last little summit I have, and I've got a big surprise coming for that rock. Right now, this is not built yet, but it will come over here, and then you'll go through this little nook in the trees. Around that, all this will be removed, and you'll roll. So this will have a little fill here so you can get up onto the rock. And then it's going to have a ramp from this leading edge to across past where that stump is to fill that gap. That'll bring you down into the valley where that first orange flag is. I'm probably going to have a long and low jump. Might make it taller, but haven't decided yet. And then the trail will continue over there, come back, and then out to the next section. Just haven't had time to rake it out yet. Planning on doing it this fall. Here's the bike I'm riding, if you've made it this far in the video. This is my Giant Trance X. It's aluminum. I do have the carbon version in the non-X Trance. So it's got the short trail suspension. This, or rather the other one has the XC suspension. This one's more of a trail bike. So now that's as far out as I've gotten on these trails. So now everything else is slowly working back or doubling back closer to the house. So this little trail here, it's kind of just a temporary return to have something different. Hopefully I'd like to come back in a totally different area of the trail, and I'll show where I want it to join back in up ahead here. That might be able to be a drop. It has a very flat, wet landing and goes straight up a hill. This is kind of a drainage ditch here. So might need a bridge here and over there where we came across earlier. But in the meantime, it's dry. It's only the spring that's a bit of a swamp. So hopefully, I'd like that other section to eventually spill back out up here somewhere, be able to follow this ridge line, and then duck in and do what I'm about to do now. I'd like it to maybe spill out up here, so you don't have to do that uphill. And then this section here, I would also like to cut off to the right and stay along that western boundary of my property over that way and cut through to another spot I'll show you back when we cross both of the other bridges. I do like this little traverse bit. It's a fun little drawn out gradual down, and it does still lead me right back to Chickadee Bridge. So it works until I make that reroute this fall. It'll come through the far side of that clearing. It's a lot of wet and big boulders, so that's going to have to be pretty much like a boardwalk, similar to the wood bridges at Fort Rock, Watson. But eventually that line will spill us out right here, coming over the top of this hill on the western edge of our property. And you'll carry straight on through here, where I have a nice little patch of lobster mushrooms, but I never seem to catch them on the right day. All right, carrying on from those, we are just up the trail from the drop. A nice little kind of mandatory rock roll here. This I just raked this morning because I cut a different line over there to the right. We'll be back. This crosses over twice. Once there, once here, and I just filled that in. It's really got to get ridden in. Not quite rideable yet. Oops, a little too inside for that corner. It's all right. Tight little corner up. And then a nice little down. That's gonna have a skinny with a drop at the end, like Shadows Run. That'll give you much more speed going into that climb. All right, and that brings us into this new little berm I improved. Took that big rock out from the inside. It doesn't make it that much better. It's still a very tight corner. Ooh, as was that. I'm too light of a gear. All right, and this leads into my improved rock roll line. Which flows fucking perfect. We were just over there to the right. This is that crossover. That needs a berm. That's new. And that leads into this drop much better. But it's still a very abrupt wheelie drop. All right. From that landing, you would turn and go up this way, which brings you to a little rock up and over, which gives you just enough speed to get over for this cool drop. And this is slowly bringing us back to that first hill we went up right out of the yard. Which is right here. And this is kind of where all the little enduro trails are going to start. A bunch of different lines down this steep hill, across and out into the yard. My ultimate goal, once I have enough lines down from this height, love to build a deck off the back of this rock on the far side, so you can roll off the deck down this rock into the several different line choices. I even initially cleared out the far edge, which goes over a route there and then out, but there's nowhere to get the bike on top. It just drops about 6 feet on the other side of it, which is why I want to put a deck there. But that will lead us down into these fun little downhill lines, which are very steep. So we'll see if we can not have any mistakes this time. I did go OTB here when I was cutting the trail in. Awesome. That'll lead right into that double, which I still haven't hit yet. And that leads into this Chanterelle Valley. Gonna have another drop there to the right. And that spills right down into the yard. We're back where we started. Thanks for coming with me.